Good day everyone. I am the cadet Jasper is Eras. I am from University of Cebu Maritime Education and Training Center. So, before I start, we would like to inform you that this video is for educational purposes only, and the content of this video is all about the rules from 11 to 14 of Convention of the International Regulation for Preventing Collision at Sea in 1972, or in short, it's all about COLREG rules. The first rule of our topic is rule number 11. That means when you can visually observe with the other vessel from your ship, then this section will apply. This section starts with rule number 11 and ends with rule number 18. Rule number 11 is application. So, rules in this section apply to vessel in sight of one another. That all following rules in this section will not apply to the other vessel is nor being seen visually. So, there is no overtaking or closing situation if the other vessel is not seen visually. Let's get to the next rule. Rule number 12. Sailing vessels. Again, this rule apply inside with one another. And the part A, it's talk about three situation. So, and it say, when two sailing vessels are approaching one another as to involve risk of collision, one of them shall keep out of the way of the other as follow. Rule number 1 say, when each has the wind of different side the vessel, which has the wind of the on the port side shall keep out of the way of the other. For example, naay duha ka sailing vessel nya padulong sila magsugat nya sa kanilang duha naay usa nga nag-wind of the port side. So ang kanang kinsay nakuan sa wind of the port side mao'y mo give way or kanang mo'y mo take sa action to avoid collision. Nya ang sa part 2 nag-ingon, when both have the wind of the same side, the vessel which is to windward shall keep out of the way of the vessel which is to learn. So ang kaning example sa part 2 under in section A nag-ingon, if ang duha ka barko which is windward, sila po duha ang mo give way or mo take sa action. Pananglitan ang duha ka barko kay nasa cruising situation. So sila pod ang duha mo give way. Ang isa muliko, ang isa pod muliko pod para dili sila magsugat ug para pod kanang abot sa collision. Ang porma ni ang isa ni liko sa starboard, so ang isa pod niliko pod sa starboard. Murag kanang wala sila nag-abot sa tunga ba. Nya ang kaning part 3 say, if a vessel with the wind of the port side sees a vessel to windward and cannot determine with certainly whether the other vessel has the wind of the port or the starboard side shall keep out of the way of the others. Ang kaning example sa part 3 kay medyo pariha ra ni siya sa example sa part 2. Pwede ra, pero ang kaning part 3 kay pwede ra isa ang muliko. Pananglitan ka ng maura Japan same situation na Japan crossing situation. If ang part 2 kay sila duha ang ni take sa action, ang kaning sa part 3 kay pwede ra usa ang mo take sa action para pod dili sila magbangga nya ang usa pod kanang pwede ra siya mo straight sa iyang dagan, ang usa mao ra siya mo give way. And now finally rule 12 part B. For the purposes of this rule, the windward side shall be deemed to be the side opposite to that on which the mainsail is carried out. In the case of square rig vessel, the side opposite to that on which the largest fore and aft sail is carried. So moving up to the next, my group mates will discuss about the following rules of COLREG to 13 and 14.
Rule 13, which is overtaking situations. Rule 13 itself falls within Part B, Section 2. Section 2, of course, being conducted vessels in sight of one another. So straight into the start, notwithstanding anything contained in these rules of Part B, Sections 1 and 2, any vessel overtaking any other shall keep out of their way of the vessel being overtaken. So, what this actually means, any vessel overtaking others shall keep out of their way. So, if you're an overtaking vessel, then you need to be the giveaway vessel, and the vessel being overtaken would be the stand-on vessel. Move on to Part B. A vessel shall be deemed to be overtaking when coming up with another vessel from a direction more than 22.5 degrees above her beam. That is in such position with reference to the vessel she is overtaking. That at night she would be able to see only the stern light of the vessel but neither of her side lights. It actually ties in very well with Part C when a vessel is in doubt as to whether she is overtaking another vessel. Part C. When a vessel is in any doubt as to whether she is overtaking another, she shall assume that this is the case and act accordingly. When the vessel was in doubt, she was overtaking, and she would actually act as the giveaway vessel. Part D. Any subsequent alteration of the bearing between the two vessels shall not make the overtaking vessel a crossing vessel, within the meaning of these rules, or relieve of her duty of keeping clear of the overtaking vessel until she is finally passed and clear.
So now we're going to head out to Rule 14 of COLREG, which is all about head-on situation. So also this rule applies to each vessel's insight in one another as stated in Rule 11 applications, which said that this section applies to vessels inside of one another. So in this part of the COLREG, which is the Rule 14, it talks about head-on situation. So when two power-driven vessels, this rule applies to both vessels if and only if it is a power-driven vessel. So if it's not a power-driven vessel, then this rule doesn't apply. But when two power-driven vessels are inside of one another, the scenario is head-on. When two power-driven vessels are meeting on reciprocal or nearly reciprocal courses as to involve risk of collision, each of them shall alter their courses to starboard. So they will pass port to port. So it applies to reciprocal. So example, your own ship has a course of 000, which is north, and the other ship is down south. So meeting. So now, in order to avoid the risk of collision or the collision, there's no stand-on vessel in this one. So both vessels will give way. So they will both alter their courses to starboard. So both vessels will pass to each port to port. So they will see the port side lights, and then when they pass to each other. So next in the list is B. Such a situation shall be deemed to exist when a vessel sees the other ahead or nearly ahead, and by night she would see the mast headlights or the other line or nearly in a line or both side lights, which is the port and starboard lights, and by day she observes the corresponding aspects of other vessels. So it means that such a situation will exist if by night you can see two headlights mast in line or nearly in line, just like in the example. So to know that the situation exists, we must see two colored lights, which is the green, which indicates the starboard side, and the red, which is the port side of the vessel, and two other lights in line with each other, which is the forward mast and the head mast in the bridge upper. So once you see that the two white mast headlights are in line with each other or nearly in line, and you can see the two side lights, then the situations such a situation exists. So by day, so since there are daylights to guide your vision, so you can view the aspect of what the other ship in the end looks like. So if it's head on, then it's head on. If it's crossing, then it's crossing. Move on to the C section of the head-on situation of Rule 14 in COLREG. So in C section talks about when a vessel is in doubt as to whether such situation exists, she shall assume that it does exist and act accordingly. So what this means is that when the vessel is in doubt, if the other vessel is in head-on situation or the situation is in head-on situation, then she shall act accordingly. So she will apply the rule stated in A section, which is to alter the course to starboard. So when two vessels are going to pass, they will pass in both port to port. So when such a situation exists, so she shall assume that it exists and she will act accordingly. So she will not wait for any types of risk, because if the situation is in risk of collision, confusion is very very high factor of collision. So as to prevent that, whether the vessel is in doubt, she shall act accordingly, as what said in A section part of the head-on situation in Rule 14. So that's all.